Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu and I'm back with another Digimon video. So we got some news and spoilers that happened over the past couple of days, so let's get into it. Starting with the news bit, we have some information from the Digimon TCG Twitter, where they kind of give us a little bit more information on what the number that has been appearing in the corner of the cards have been meaning. So basically, all this states that it is a block icon, and this will start appearing on all cards that are going to be printed as of April 1st, 2021. So this is kind of interesting considering we still don't understand exactly what that means. So right now they don't have any plans for block rotation in the future, but that's not meaning that they won't, and I really hope that they won't, because the game really doesn't need rotation, let alone this early in the game's life. But regardless, this is just another identifier on the card, and that's kind of all it really means as of right now. And again, I don't think this is exactly alluding to or meaning that they're going to be doing rotation, because Bandai has a history of not doing rotation. So their other games have done like block identifiers before, and it really hasn't meant anything. So I don't really think it's going to mean anything in this game currently. Next, on to the spoilers. We have a new BT06 card, so they're slowly coming out with some BT06 cards as we get closer and closer to the Japanese release. They'll probably ramp that up more and more, but right now we just have a new SR to look at, and this is going to be a new version of Titamon. So Titamon is a pretty powerful Digimon considering he has two really good abilities. So what this card is doing is his first ability is a when Digivolving ability, where we get to trash one card from our hand, and then we get to play one purple level 4 or lower Digimon from our trash for free. So what's really important to note about this card is the fact that you do get that Digimon's on play ability, so you could utilize some other tools that other purple decks couldn't before, just because you actually do get to utilize its on play ability. So that's something really interesting to take note of. And then discarding a card isn't that bad in purple, considering purple wants to set up their trash anyway, and you could just discard the card you want to res with his own ability. So it's almost like you're just playing the card for free that you were just discarding anyway. And then it's not like discarding is that big of a deal to begin with, just because purple has a whole bunch of trash-based synergies and a whole bunch of card draw already that it just kind of doesn't really matter. On top of which, because it's a when Digivolving ability, you do get to draw a card before you use this ability, so you could just draw into a card to actually utilize his ability with, but regardless, this is still just a very powerful ability to be playing around with. And then his second ability kind of plays off of his first ability, where it only activates during your turn once per turn. When you trash a card from your hand due to your own card effect, then this Digimon gets plus 2000 DP and security attack plus 1 until the end of the turn. So obviously he's supposed to synergize with himself, where you use his when Digivolving ability to discard the card, then res the card you just discarded, or just res a card that's already in your trash anyway. And then because you discarded a card, then his other ability activates, and then he'll get the power boost and security attack plus 1. And that's just pretty decent to be playing around with, because purple has just so many discard synergies, and you already have cards to just constantly allow you to draw a card and discard a card, and that's just pretty good to be playing around with. On top of which, the buff does carry over onto the level 7s if you have enough memory to just figure out a way to discard a card, trigger this ability, and then Digivolve all the way up into your level 7 and be able to swing with your level 7, and that's just really powerful to think about. But regardless, this card is definitely looking like he's pretty strong. Stats-wise, he's not exactly in the greatest position, considering he does have an Evo cost of 4, which purple does have a little bit of a hard time making sure that they could play their 4s a little bit more consistently. But regardless, his 12,000 DP is definitely very nice to see, to complement the fact that he Evos for 4. So this, all in all, looks like a pretty interesting card, and I definitely think it's going to see a bit of experimental play. I don't know how good he's going to be in the long run, but he definitely seems really, really fun and really, really interesting. And then lastly, we have two new starter deck cards to go over. So first up, we have AeroVeedramon. So this new version of AeroVeedramon is looking to be pretty good, not only just because he's an AeroVeedramon and he's already going to be playing with all of the V support that All Force was playing with before, but on top of which he has two really decent abilities of his own. So his native ability is he just has jamming, which is pretty good considering blue already likes to be playing a lot with jamming, so he fits nicely in a jamming based deck. And then on top of which he has a really nice inheritable skill where during your turn, while you have 8 or more cards in your hand, then this Digimon gets security attack +1. So we've already seen this type of ability before on the promo WereGarurumon, but they are going to be playing with some different support. So seeing it again here definitely is really, really nice and very, very welcoming, just because if you want the redundancy in the ability, then you could play both, or if you just feel like you want to utilize just the one that synergizes best with your deck, then you're more than welcome to do so as well. So I definitely really like seeing the redundancy of ability here, and this could be explored with a whole bunch of other decks like the Mirage Gaugamon deck. And I definitely think this card will be a pretty interesting card to be playing around with going forward. And then the last card that we have to talk about today is going to be a new version of Veedramon. So him being a Veedramon means he already works with all of the other V support that we have in the game, which is already pretty decent. And then on top of which, he actually has a pretty good inheritable skill. So his inheritable skill is a when attacking ability where if you have 8 or more cards in your hand, then you get to return one of the opponent's level 3 Digimon back to their hand, and then you get to obviously trash their evolution sources if they had any. This is a pretty good of an ability to have just because it is a recursive way that blue has to interact with the opponent's Digimon. Yes, it's on their level 3s, but if they're playing, let's just say, a Rookie Rush style of deck, they're going to have to keep constantly playing their level 3s, and if you're able to swing multiple times a turn, then you're just going to keep bouncing them back to their hand, and if they're forced to keep hard playing them, then they're not really going to be able to keep anything on the field, while you just whittle their security away just because you're going to be getting multiple attacks off a turn. So I definitely think this is a pretty decent ability to have, and it's not like it's that impossible for blue to have 8 or more cards in their hand, just because of how much card draw blue has. So I definitely really like what this card is doing, and I definitely think he's going to see a decent amount of play, or at least he's going to see a lot of experimental play. But only time will tell to see how good this card actually is, considering it is only bouncing level 3s, so if they're playing not a Rookie Rush style of deck, then they could not really care about you bouncing their level 3 back, especially if that level 3 has an on-play ability, then the opponent just gets the ability to just, replay it again and get that on-play ability again. So it might not be the best card depending on the matchup, but it's definitely a really interesting card to be thinking about running nonetheless. So that's all I really have for this video. As always, feel free to tell me your thoughts down in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next video.